So, hello my friends. Welcome back to another, it's basically a tool of the trade video. Cut Trader just went live. And in this video I'm going to show you my latest acquisition, because I decided to buy World Traffic 3 from Classic Jet Simulations. It's a payware, and what it does is it will give you AI traffic on airports. It is quite a complex tool, so it's not an easy one, but in the end it turned out it wasn't that difficult to install it. It offers a lot of options. I haven't actually explored everything, so this is basically try and fly, but with with a tool. So I'm currently looking at what's available, and I've got it to work. I got my first AI aircraft to show up here in Munich, and what I can show you here, this is X-Plane 1125 I've got now. So I updated to the latest version of X-Plane. This has been what they call an art update. So basically they have, I think, added 700 airports or something like that, additional ones, and they added this new library. And Munich, for example, has actually improved a lot. Look at this. This is stock scenery, okay? And they have added, I think, these new fronts here or so. They may not be what Munich really looks like, but I think they're looking quite good. And anyway, I think whoever's has done this Munich scenery really done a good job. So this is the new terminal. I think this is one of these new glass fronts. One of the many objects that they added to the object library for scenery design. Okay, so we're going to see a lot of interesting scenery, I think, coming up, and the stock scenery is getting better and better with every release. So I think Lamina is doing really a great job at this. So what's missing in this airport, because it is quite bland, is some AI traffic. You know, and what I like about, or I liked about the concept in World Traffic 3 is the fact that you can have pretty realistic traffic. So it's not just any old model that you have on your system showing up at completely unlikely places. So like in Germany you have lots of American airlines, and you know, it doesn't make sense. With World Traffic 3 you actually get matching traffic, matching your location. As far as I understand, World Traffic 3 depends that on the fact that the taxi network is there. Just to explain for those who don't really know about inners of scenery design. When you have a taxiway, okay, and you have this taxi line here, having the visual line doesn't necessarily mean that you have a taxi network. So when you see a taxiway on an airport in X-Plane, in the past, very often they had drawn it, but they have not defined it as a taxiway in a so-called network. And doing such a network isn't actually that easy. So you have to do a bit of work. So Captain K-Man, who also has been doing a tutorial video on World Traffic, he's actually creating custom routings and custom setups for airports. I've seen him doing this live in a live stream, and it's fascinating work that he does there. So you need to have a taxi line network defined. By the way, you need this for the other tools as well. You would need this for XLive. So I'm not going for XLive. XLive somehow doesn't cut it for me. I personally find it too convoluted, and it's just not doing what I want, and I don't want the ATC from XLive. So I decided that I'm going to have just standard So use World Traffic 3 and not use XLive. And World Traffic 3 doesn't have ATC as such, so you can't do ATC. It is a payware, and yeah, it has its price, but then again, what I've seen when I activated it actually convinced me that I didn't do a mistake buying it. Now, how do you install? Basically, you have to buy it from something like SimMarket, or not SimMarket, from the Org store, obviously. You get a order number. The order number is what you then need for getting it activated. Okay. Then you download yourself one of the installer options. There are two actually. For Windows, there's an installer file, an executable that you can run, and for Mac or Linux, and if you want for Windows as well, you can unpack from a zip file. You have to make sure then that stuff is in the right positions. There are some real flights, so they have some definition files, and what we will see is that there's a new folder called Classic JetSim Utils under the Explain main folder, and it's called Classic JetSim Utils World Traffic route files, for example, and in there are real world routes that someone has set up that will help with building a AI traffic network, let's say. So this thing is really doing what I like about it is you actually get realistic flights with departures and arrivals, and even the timing I think you can define, so that you could actually create a schedule for an airport, and you will get the correct flights coming at the correct times or something like that. At least this is what I read. I'm not even close to doing this myself or so. At the moment, I'm glad that I actually got it running. What you also need is you need to go to the forum explain.org. The links are here, by the way. It's here in the download section, and you're going to have to download quite a few zip files, and yeah, it's it's quite a bit of a download that you have to do. But you get 4 Airbus and 4 Boeing zip files with all kinds of Airbus and Boeing types and liveries. So it's all the usual things, but with all the liveries, because you need liveries, obviously. There's a general aviation one with small aircraft. There's a McDonnell Douglas with MD-11s and so on. There's this real route file. No, yeah, regional and regional 2 are regional jets, such as the CRJ, and I think the ERJ and the Saab and things like that. So these are all object files for airplanes with the livery, sort of the painting outside. Okay. Do read the quick start guide. It is important that you actually read the documentation. So I don't think you can just wing it. I had to look through this and just make sure that I've got it right. And yeah, so what you end up with is, after the installation, you actually end up with, under the explain folder, with a classic JetSim Utils World Traffic. There are sounds, route files, parking definitions, and for example, what it does is, when you are at an airport and you want to fly a route, so the main operation modus seems to be that you tell it where to fly to. So for example, from EDDM to EDDS, it will then check if it already has information about an aircraft, about an airport. And in this case, Munich and Stuttgart, I tried it out before, obviously. It didn't have any. So what did it do? It started to look through all the taxi lines, the parking positions that it could find, and it listed them. And I think what is important is that that the scenery design is adequate. So if the scenery design doesn't have this properly, you will not get proper positions and a proper taxi network. And if the taxi network, these hidden lines under the lines kind of in the scenery design. If they're missing, you're most likely not going to get the correct things here. But since X-Plane's default scenery has become quite good, okay, you can actually get decent positions here for most airports. I'm not sure what you have to do if you install custom scenery, because I don't have custom scenery installed at the moment for Germany. I use stock, so I guess these positions are now based on the airport that you're seeing here. Alright, so yeah, I would probably have to redo this, but that's no problem. You can do this anytime. You can rebuild the stuff anytime. I think you can also do open flights. Okay, so here for the example are the ground routes, and it has already some predefined airports. I guess they come with a product, and these two here have just been created. So you see, for example, cargo position to runway 07. So all the possible routings from a parking position to a runway for the arrival. In this case, it would be from the runway to the parking position, but in the other case, so we're in the arrival case now, but if we go to the departure case, same thing, but the other direction, it would be then from the cargo position, for example, to the runway 07. Okay, and yeah, so that's that. And this is all automatically generated for you the first time you're trying to use an airport for world traffic. So there are some special files that some of them you can download, and then for example airport operations, where you can have specific schedules, I suppose there are, for your AI. And these two here in types and in the aircraft objects. So this is big. There are 5,300 items in there. This is the stuff of which your aircraft are made of. Okay, so you can see the DDS files. They are probably the painting outside, and the WT0 are the kind of object files with which it will draw. I suppose it will draw the aircraft. There's object files here as well. So now I'm not sure how this all works, but yeah, this is where all your zip files, the content of your zip file goes. And if you look at one of them zip files, if you open it, you see here aircraft objects and aircraft types. So you basically unpack them into here, into the world traffic folder, and they will add. Some of them are double files in the various zip files. You might find the one or the other file again. As I installed them in sequence, Airbus 1, 2, 3, 4, when there was actually a warning that there's a file already existent, I just overrode it in the assumption that the higher the number of the zip file, the more current the file that I should override is. I hope it's okay, but I think I'll be alright. And that's basically it when it comes to installation. So you have to just make sure that you get these files unpacked, and that you also have the in the resources plugins folder, there is the word traffic. There it is. There's a word traffic. This is the plugin. This is a standard plugin. Okay, you need this as well. And there's also another plugin called the radar that you could decide not to use, but it actually gives you an overview. We're going to have a look in a moment. So when you have the word traffic plugin for the first time, you need to go to registration. I'm not going to click there because you can see my order number, but you will be asked for the order number that you got from the org store, I think. So in the download section where you get the software on the org store, it tells you an order number. That's basically like your serial number in this case, and you have to enter the order number. There is no serial number, and by the way, the really strange thing they did is the org store, they give you a link to a world traffic serial or something, or world traffic license.txt file. In that file there's nothing in there. It just says put your order number in there or something like that, or your serial number. Really confusing, because what you actually need is the order number that's above the two product downloads, not the content of that file. It took me quite some time to actually get this right. So I thought, oh, you haven't given me a serial number. That's bad. I almost wrote to the helpline there, to the support, and in order to get my serial number, and then I realized you don't need it. You need the order number that's written above in the download section. Now I can't show you this because you can't use my order number, but yeah, just so if you wonder about this strange license file with nothing in it, not to worry, look at what it says on the download page. You can also edit certain aspects. For example, here the parking assignments of an airport. Uh-oh. No, don't tell me. Uh-oh. That's not good. Not responding. Well. Now that would be a bit of a bummer here during my video. Now things can take time with world traffic, and I can tell you already that if you are on a slow PC, we're back, you may actually experience some drops in frames. I'm pretty sure. You have to be very careful what you do as settings. So you can see I have up to now only have it just shows you the EDDM airport because that's the one close to me, and you could actually go and edit parking positions, parking assignments. So I haven't really dig deep here on what you do with this, because to me this is now a tool that I want to use without hours of defining stuff. So basically what you do is you call up the flight setup menu option, and the idea is, although you can do open flights as well, as far as I understand, the idea is that you define a route. You tell it, I want to fly from Munich to Stuttgart. In this case, you can see this here, you know, I just have chosen Stuttgart. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose Nuremberg, some cruising altitude. You can actually give it a departure time, arrival time, because what happens then is it will try and calculate your traffic for you based on the two airports, and you get specific. First of all, it will check, does it have all the information about the airports you're going to fly to, and then it's going to try and come up with a number of routes, routings for airplanes between these two airports, so that when you're flying, you're actually accompanied by AI, and that is specific AI for your flight. That's how I understand it. Okay, sounds quite interesting. Now, when you go to these options here, I'm actually going to turn off military flights. I just realized I haven't done that yet. So here's the maximum number of flight plans to generate recommended max setting. I have not changed this. This is what came out when I installed it, 2,500. The more you vamp this up, the more flight plans are generated, and also the more, theoretically, the more AI aircraft you will probably see. The other thing is the traffic density. So the higher you set this, the more traffic you will get, but you can bet the more performance impact you will have. So I guess that it is important that you get yourself, you don't start putting this over here to the right. I'm pretty sure you will see severe impact on your frames when you do. You have to really play around. I left the default, so this is the default settings for the moment. I didn't touch it because I thought, let's see how things perform. And on my first test it looked reasonably okay. I didn't realize a huge drop in frames, but yeah, I still have to use it really more seriously to see whether or not I can see some impact. You can also have GA flights to arrive from this airport. As Munich doesn't have GA flights, I'm actually turning it off. And I also have a very low number of GA flights. This is here on this side. You can define how much military traffic and how much GA traffic you want to have at the arrival and departure airport. Stuttgart actually does. So what I could do is, if I want the GA traffic to arrive in Stuttgart, Munich, as I say, doesn't have it. So the departure airport, I could turn this off. And for the arrival airport, I actually could give it, so that in theory I could actually be followed by a small Cessna or something on my flight. And we're not going to do this flight today, but I'm going to use it then in one of my next sessions. Autogen flights, uncheck if only using user-defined flights. So basically what happens is, if you have an airport schedule, so it is basically something that's based on real traffic or so, you could actually have just the definitions of your realistic sort of procedures being used, and that means only flights departing and arriving for those airports according to the definitions. Or, and you should probably turn this on, if you leave this on, it will create kind of a, I suppose it's also a randomized schedule. So if it doesn't have the information for a particular airport, what flights are going in and out in real life, then it will just generate something. So if you turn this off, you should only turn this off if you have actually a real traffic sort of setup. And that is stuff you can download for certain airports, I understand, and you could in theory create your own, but I'm not that far yet, so I'm only starting. Okay, so I leave this on for the moment. The other thing is the Autogen ground routes. Ground routes need to be generated at least once for an airport, and if you have this switch on, what happens is, if you define a flight, and like Nuremberg, I haven't done stuff for Nuremberg yet, so if I would now just say create flights, what would happen is it would detect that Nuremberg doesn't have yet any ground routes. We're going to do this in a moment, and then it would generate the ground routes automatically for you. So I'm going to press on the create flight now. If you want to kind of redo an airport or define a new airport without a flight, you could actually now enter EDDN down here, by the way, and then just press the generate ground routes, and it would create all these routings for airplanes for you. I do it now as part of a flight. I say create flights, and depending on what kind of machine you have, this can take time. Okay, the first time round it told me for Munich that it could take up to 16 minutes. It didn't take 16 minutes. Ground routes don't exist for arrival airport. Ground routes already exist for EDDM. Estimated time to generate ground routes for Nuremberg is 1 minute. Do you want to generate the ground routes? Yes, we do, because we need it. Okay. And it's only about 64. Nuremberg is a small airport, and so far there isn't that much to do, and I'm done. So basically now it's giving you all this stuff here. I haven't really read through this, but when I read successful, I'm assuming that things are okay. It's just a elaborated log file for what it was generating. So I'm going to close this again, and you may already see what happened. Look there, we have actually aircraft now that weren't there before. Okay, and it's making use of those models that we have put in the aircraft types and object folders, and I have a feeling that it partially also uses our standard objects, the AI objects, because I can see some old Air Berlin liveries, and they might actually come from one of the other object libraries. Yeah, we have traffic now. Let's see. So what that's Meridiana. Okay. Then we have Air Berlin here. Obviously, they don't know that Air Berlin doesn't exist anymore. This is probably a TUI fly, in the old yellow Haribo colors. So the paintings aren't really very up to date, but it's okay. I'm quite happy about that. Let me quickly move here at the airport. I'm going to go and change my location. And I'm going to move over to terminal 2 or 3. So that, let's move to the satellite, which is the new terminal, and just see what it has generated on the other side of Munich Airport. So that's the... Is that the new terminal? Doesn't look like it, does it? Ah, yeah, it's the other side of it. Okay. And all the aircraft that you see here, these have all been generated by World Traffic. And you can see there isn't any American based airlines here. So we have Lufthansa, we have Aegean, we have Malta, we have Scandinavian, not sure what that there is. There's a Lufthansa. And when we go up a little bit and look over here, there's another Lufthansa. And the reason why we don't see that many airplanes is because I also kept the density down. So if I would now move over the if I move the slider now, we would actually get higher numbers of airplanes. But yep, I'm happy with how many aircraft I see. I don't really want the whole airport to be full of it. And the idea is also that these aircraft will actually move. So let's see if we can see some traffic. And in order to know what's going on, you could actually call up this traffic radar thingy. And here's the airport. And you can see that there's quite a few flights around. Okay, I'm in the identification here, the November stuff. That's a Cessna here. Oh, this is mainly AI traffic down here. And that's an A319. That's a Cessna again. Yeah, there's a lot of AI traffic, and they're probably going to go to Nuremberg because I told them to go there. Okay. What you can do here as well is if you select an airplane and you say track camera, you actually see it's a South African. Well, you wouldn't really find a South African Airbus in Europe. And you can also see the flight plan here. So it's going to UK, this one does. Speed is 288 knots. It's in the climb. It has started from Munich. and route distance remaining 580 miles. So this thing will actually now fly towards Great Britain. I'm not sure if it's going to perform the whole flight, but yeah, quite interesting, isn't it? We can also have a look at this here. So this is one of them GA models, and it's happily flying to where? It's flying from somewhere in Austria. It's going from LOLW to LOLW. That's a strange route. Yeah, but don't forget, this is about creating some ambient sort of traffic, and yeah, it's looking good. We don't seem to have any arrivals in Munich, and we don't seem to have any departures yet. So nice, very nice. Let's go back to Munich. I wonder if we're going to see some airplane pushing back, and that's Adria, so that's probably an ERJ 145 or so from Adria Airlines, and yo, very nice. I just would love to see now one of them pushing back and taking off, but it seems we don't see we don't have any of them. Does that one have the lights on? Does that mean it's going to move soon? Whoops. See? Doesn't look like it. Yeah, not the best showcase. None of them is moving. Yeah, so, but anyway, so this is World Traffic 3, and I'm going to have this turned on now in my next flights in order to get a little bit of atmosphere around. So whenever I want to have some atmosphere around me at the airports and so on, I'm going to activate World Traffic 3, and the interesting bit now is that there is an ATC tool called Pilot to ATC. I'm going to give it a go, a test drive, and it integrates, obviously it integrates with World Traffic in a way that it can detect the AI, and yeah, I'm still trying to understand if that means that we will also hear the communication between the AI of World Traffic. Yeah, we shall see, but I'm going to try this out in the next 1 or 2 weeks, and combine that hopefully with World Traffic, together also with the XATC chatter that I talked about before, so that you would get kind of an airport ATC chatter, ATC simulation, and also AI traffic simulation kind of framework. So yeah, I would have loved to see one of them aircraft actually starting to move, but doesn't look like they want to. Maybe if what happens if I put the time forward? Will that make a difference? Not really, does it? They don't feel like showing us. See if the radar shows us any aircraft coming. So there's an Airbus, an A320. Let's quickly check. It's actually coming to Munich from Hamburg. That's interesting. It's an Air Berlin. Okay. How long does it take? It's yeah, it's on the approach, but it will take a little bit longer before it will arrive. Yeah, but I think you can see already where this is heading. I don't want to draw this out now unnecessarily, and yeah, look at the new sceneries here in 11.25. By the way, the update to 11.25 worked without any problem. It seems to really be artistic, not so much functionality. There may be some bug fixes in 11.25 as well. So I had no problems getting this put in. So far, everything works fine. So you can dare to do an update without having to fear that things are going horribly wrong or so. So it seems to work quite well. Okay, that's it. World Traffic 3. First introduction here, and I'm going to now use it in my next flights, and yeah, and then we see what will happen, or if there are any issues, if there are any kind of conflicts with other tools. I will find out, but so far I quite like it. So the fact that we have AI that is somewhat intelligent to a degree, yeah, that appeals to me. Let's see if that what I can do to tweak maybe and to optimize things a little bit, and I'm going to tell you then in one of my next videos. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching, and until next time.